So Carrion came out earlier today. It's a game where you play as like a meat flesh beast with lots of teeth. How adorable. I'm actually having a lot of fun with it. I thought it looked cool from the promotional material, but all the EAs and Ubisofts have made me skeptical of entirely trusting that stuff. It feels really good to just move around a mass of tentacles, just reach out and pull the carrion beast in whatever direction you want to go in. Moving vertically is easy, and it feels super smooth. The right stick lets you whip a tentacle out and grab objects and people, and if you pull those people back, you get a nice little snack. The game's incredibly bloody and does have some disturbing imagery, but as someone who really likes horror movies, especially monster movies, I've been having an absolute blast. Playing as the monster is always just such a fun concept, especially when executed well. It very much reminds me of stuff like Destroy All Humans and Stubbs the Zombie, though instead of being open world, it's Metroidvania-ish. You get new abilities as you progress that both give you new options in combat and for getting around the map. I've just gotten the third main upgrade, been playing for about an hour and a half. There's been a web shot, which lets you stun enemies and flip switches that you can't actually reach, a very strong tackle that can knock enemies down and destroy certain walls, and invisibility that lets you be a sneaky, horrifying monstrosity. I hesitate to entirely call it a Metroidvania because there's not a ton of stuff to collect. There's 9 optional upgrades to find, I think it was 9 at least, that seem to augment your existing abilities in some way. Like, one gave me an additional tentacle so I can grab 2 things at once. The enemies so far have done a good job of being challenging without making me feel weak. Like, if I'm actually taking full advantage of my mobility and abilities, then I felt like a monster should. Powerful, scary, and maybe unstoppable. The introduction of new problems, be they navigational or combat-focused, is also very natural. New enemies and obstacles will be introduced, and after encountering that for a bit, you'll get an ability that makes them easier to deal with, or just lets you actually progress through the obstacles. The enemies escalate in difficulty as you progress. Flamethrowers are fucking scary, as they should be for what's essentially the Thing crossed with the Blob. The game's got this nice pixel art look to it, which I'm always fond of. The main thing is that the Carrion beast looks really, really good. There's a couple of other visuals that have been super solid as well, and we're very much outside of the realm of consoles where pixel art was the norm. The theming is taken full advantage of, in addition to just absolutely causing carnage and eating so many people. Save points spread the corrupting biomass of the creature, which both looks terrifying and awesome. You generally need to interact with these in order to progress to new areas. Within an area, all the rooms can look samey. You're in a science facility, so it does make some sense, but I could see that causing navigation problems for some people. There's been a botanical gardens area, and I just reached an area that's underwater, and those have been pretty unique visually, so hopefully the game keeps that up. Other complaints. The music hasn't seemed too fitting to me. It's very traditional horror and does sound great, but it doesn't feel quite as fitting when we're actually playing as the monster, as opposed to dealing with it in some way. I would have preferred a more retro sound to the music to fit the visuals. The actual possible big problem, and what I could see being a sticking point for some people, is the lack of a map. There's no map, according to a quick Google search. That can make navigating a bit difficult. I definitely understand why you don't have a map. It doesn't really make sense for a hungry, horrific flesh beast to be looking at a map of some kind, but sometimes theming can step back for the sake of player convenience. Even without a map, I haven't run into any navigation problems so far. The areas are all relatively easy to get around. You move fucking fast, especially if you know where you're going, and there's not a lot of options in most areas, so it's quick. But I can definitely see cleanup being difficult for those optional upgrades, either in post-game or near the end of the game. There is something that mitigates this. There's signs in the background of each area that indicate whether or not you've gotten the optional upgrade. They're all on specific screens, though. Hopefully that's enough to make finding everything straightforward enough, but I'm really not sure yet. A couple of other things, there's some signs with writing in the background, some of which are pretty tongue-in-cheek, which is a turn of phrase that's kind of disturbing to me at the moment, if I'm being entirely honest. I remember seeing one that made me both smile and roll my eyes that said, "Keep calm and carry on." Just a bit on the nose, but it got me, so fair enough. The Carrion beast gets smaller as you take damage and bigger as you eat people up to a certain maximum, which is a neat touch. This can also affect what abilities you have access to. There's 2 states, at least so far, big and small. Big has the tackle, small has the stealth and webbing. There's certain bodies of water that you can leave part of the beast in to get smaller, then getting big again is as simple as munching on that biomass. I wish it could be in every body of water, but it's only certain ones. There's also flashback sequence things that seem to be showing how the beast was discovered, where you play as a human that can stop and investigate things. They're basically narrative sections, a nice change of pace, I suppose, but I did find myself having trouble figuring out how to progress in them from time to time, and that made them drag a bit because you can't move that fast. But yeah, I'm having a bloody great time so far, and I'm kind of chomping at the bit to get back into it. I'll have a proper review of it going up as soon as I can after I actually finish the game. Apparently it's 7 hours long, so shouldn't be too long. Until then, this has been Callus. Thanks for watching. You can like the video, subscribe, or share this video around if you enjoyed it and want to. My Patreon exists if you'd like to support me. There's neat bonuses like access to my Discord server and raw recording sessions, so feel free to go look at that. Speaking of, big thanks to all of my current patrons like Taya, Edith, and Lily, all of whom are really cool people. Keep loving what you love, and I'll see you next time with something else.